Okay, primary 4, we're ready when you are. Who's starting you off?
They asked me to do the introduction. This is Trust for Sustainable Living, Economic Inequality. Next slide, please. The team members are me, Yungen, Esther, Mumudi, Sabiha, Petra, and Kareem. Sorry if I butchered the names. Next slide, please. What is economic inequality and climate crisis? Economic inequality is the unequal distribution of income. On the other hand, climate crisis is when the climate acts in an unnatural way, usually caused by extra usage of fossil fuels. Okay. Effects of climate change. Natural disasters worsen economic inequality, so it's best to stop them right now. Examples are droughts, floods, and tornadoes. Next slide, please. My solution is green jobs, so we can reduce carbon and teach people how to care for nature. Green jobs include jobs like a nuclear power worker or an environmental scientist, and etc. Next slide, please. And my second solution is financial aid. This is for developing countries and it supports government-funded sustainable programs. What I'm advocating for right now is for large and very, very developed countries like Japan, the US, China, and Germany to give aid to developing countries. Next slide, please. We started it now?
Okay, so hi, I'm Tree from Vietnam. Let's start with how climate justice is important. It's important because total damage due to climate change are larger in developing countries. For example, crops are failing in Guatemala due to the drought, while glacier melt threatens villages in Peru. Next slide, please. Historically, wealthier countries are responsible for most greenhouse gas emissions, but lower income countries are bearing the brunt of the impacts that arise from these emissions. Next slide, please. So, how economic could impact climate change? It is necessary to build an economic policy with emphasis on green innovation and a fair transition for all countries. This policy should include no taxes or tax reduction for all companies that use renewable energy and border carbon taxes. The money collected from taxes can also be used to invest in green technology and renewable energy. Moreover, next slide, please. Moreover, denying funding to fossil fuel companies. And lastly, mobilizing finance from developed countries to developing countries and from across the private and public sectors to help poorer countries transit to green innovation smoothly and to reach global net zero by mid-century as committed in COP26. Thank you for listening. Now on to Esther.
Hi, my name is Esther. Climate change has led to desert encroachment and shrinking of water bodies. For example, the Lake Chad in northern Nigeria has shrunk by 90% in the last 60 years. Next slide, please. Oil spill and gas flaring in southern Nigeria has degraded the environment and affected tourism. Next slide, please. Consequent youth unemployment has led to an increase in militancy. This has affected tourism and increased poverty. Next slide, please. Solution is more awareness about the negative effects of climate change. Government should promote afforestation to reduce desert encroachments. Next slide, please. Businesses should stop flaring and spills. They should support tourism to provide jobs for the youth. Thank you.
Rich countries and the global emission. Greenhouse gases are emitted by various manufacturing processes. The richest parts of the world produce most of the greenhouse gases. Rich countries produce 86%, poor countries produce 14%. Greenhouse gases cause extreme heat, melting of glaciers and ice caps, rising of sea levels. Effects of these are more experienced by the poor countries. Poor countries are unable to meet the cost of renewable energy. Renewable energy sources need lots of technology and new equipment. Most of the poor countries can't afford them. This results in use of more fossil fuel, more greenhouse gases. On the other hand, poor countries will end up with more foreign debts, wastage of available resources. Not only worsens the climate crisis, it worsens the economic inequality too.
How does climate crisis affect economic inequality? And what are the problems? Well, one problem is that many businesses use a large amount of fossil fuels. This includes factory workers, mining industries, electric generators, utility constructors, and more. The thing about these jobs is that they earn a lot of money. If climate crisis becomes a very big problem, it can even affect viruses. Like when COVID-19 was a very big problem, many people, specifically women, got kicked out of their jobs because they were told to do hospitality and other things for that time instead. Next slide, please. So how can we help climate justice? One way is to make renewable forms of energy cheaper so that we can start slowly using more forms of renewable energy. Another way is for governments and us to start spreading awareness of the cause. Petra, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. As the oceans warm up and polar ice melts, sea levels are said to go up. Changes in sea level affect people through flooding. It can harm our drinking water and our ability to grow crops. Next slide, please. Predicted sea level rise and economic inequality. Seas are predicted to rise a foot by 2050. Climate change impacts the poorest more than the wealthy. Poor countries will be affected more by this. 2 billion climate change refugees by 2100s. By the 2050s, 800 million people will live in cities where sea levels could rise by more than half a meter. Next slide, please. Consequence of a catastrophic sea level rise. Global refugee crises, more powerful hurricanes, destroyed economies, food and water crises, health crises, conflicts. The last time the world was this warm was 3 million years ago. Next slide, please. Governments can spread awareness if they keep fossil fuels in the ground, invest in renewable energy, plant trees to absorb more carbon, reduce plastic, and more. Next slide. What can we do? Poor countries should be supported. Our governments must stop handing out money to the wealthier. Next slide, please. According to George Eliot, it will never rain roses. When we want to have more roses, we must plant more roses. On to Karen.
Is it too late now? Well, of course not. While there are some people who think that we are currently at the end of the world, studies have shown humanity still has generations of life ahead. We also now know that the earlier we take action, the better off we are at stopping climate crisis once and hopefully for all. Next. Here we have a quote from Tony Robbins. Knowing is not enough, you must take action. Next. Nathan?
Nathan, you have to do the ending.
Who's doing your summary, primary 4?
Nathan was doing the summary.
Nathan was doing somebody.
He just turned off his camera.
Nathan, can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. It was my sister was here kanina po. Oh, so the summary is our solutions to climate change and economic inequality is green jobs, financial aid to developing countries, adopt fair climate policies, and taxation on carbon, make renewable cost-effective when storms in poor countries should be supported. And our governments must stop handing out money to the wealthier countries for loans and things that we have to pay back. Thank you.
Thank you, primary 4. Congratulations. Well done, your hard work have shown. Now I will invite the judges for any questions. Yes, Barry?
Finding my mute button. I should know how to do this by now, really, shouldn't I? Never mind. Well, thank you very much, team. That again was razor focused. I think you really addressed the issues very well and very broadly. Have you any sense, anybody, like, look, again, I always like to think the biggest things first, the biggest problem first, and you talked about some of the solutions that we might offer. Is there one big problem and one big solution that could change the world, or does it need to be a combination of everything?
I would like to answer that. So first, climate change doesn't have just one solution. However, it does have one big problem and a one big solution. The use of renewable sources. Most emissions come from fossil fuels like coal and nitrous oxide. So I would like to stop that. And making it cheap effective is part of that solution, because right now, let's say you wanted to get a Tesla, an electric car, and that would be expensive, more expensive than your usual gas car that I have, that most people have. So right now, making it more cost friendly is right now the priority. We have the technology, however, we need the aid and it to be cost friendly. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Chrysanthemum, you had a question?
It was just, I just want to say, because I talked to all three before, so in order, not to believe that their presentation, you did an amazing job. And I really like the fact that you use some quotes, and this is something really interesting. And also at the end, the summary. So well done to this group as well. It was similar, my question was similar to Barry's, that's why I just, well, we're close in the winter, so the minds are the same. So well done, boys and girls.
Thank you, everyone, every team for the presentations. You have done a good job. And now we will slowly add everyone on the screen, and we will start the next part of our debate today, the actual debate part.